next guest says that the government cannot just, quote, add money and stir its way too successful, TARP program. Instead, he says a stricter workout plan is in order. Peter Kaufman from Gordian Group, president and co-author of Distressed Investment Banking to the Abyss and Back, joins me now. Good to have you here.
Great to be here.
Okay, so let's talk about some of the key things here. Number one, you want some accountability and you want some transparency. There are some programs in place right now that you think are doing a decent job, and a lot of them that you think are failing miserably. Tell me about them.
Well, the backdrop to this, Alexis, is that America is in an overall workout mode. Just like if you have a mortgage, you lose your job, you can't afford your mortgage. America, particularly the financial institutions, can't support the debt that it has. And there are three keys to success at Gordian Group, in our view, for a successful workout, which are transparency, accountability, and no new money goes into any given situation unless it's part of an overall solution. Otherwise, you've already seen Citigroup, AIG, General Motors, I guarantee, they'll be back like Oliver Twist. Please, sir, may I have more, to Uncle Sam. So we're not solving the problems by just adding money and stir. The TALF program, which is the government will make one-year low-interest loans to private investors to acquire AAA-rated securitizations such as consumer credit cards, auto loans, and the like. That's a good program in our view because there's a market dynamic. The private sector.
It's also the private sector.
Well, that's exactly right. But that is the market dynamic. The private sector is setting a price with government backing. But TARP, on the other hand,
is not doing that.
Okay,
so let me ask you this question. When you came on the set, you and I said, okay, there are three options being discussed. One is to continue to backstop assets, as they've done with Citi and Bank of America. Another is to purchase troubled assets. And a third is to create a bad bank. All of those structures call into question how they value the troubled assets. How do they do it? Do any three of those solutions work?
Not if the government is paying what it believes or says is a fair price. The government is not in the business of a lot of things, including valuing assets. Those solutions only work if the government seizes those assets the way they did in the 1980s. Just whacks private investor shareholder value, takes over the assets, spruces them up, sells them somewhere else, puts them in more stable hands. An aggregator bank only works if you're getting the assets into the hands of a stable investor base with government money coming in below it, not if the government has to buy the assets.
Okay, let me play devil's advocate. There are a lot of people who look at the TALF, for example, where they do get private investment to securitize in some of those other much-needed areas of credit. If we were to try something like that with the toxic assets that are sitting on the financial institutions, some suggest, first of all, we're talking about trillions and trillions of dollars, number one. And number two, the private companies or the private equity guys, any private investor, they're not stepping up to the plate right now. So what makes us think that they're going to step up to the plate if we didn't do something like that? Where's the money going to come from?
Well, so far, the TALF program hasn't been extended to mortgages and some of these other toxic securities that you're talking about. We'd love to see the TALF program extended to encompass that, because unless you try something like that, something that has a market dynamic aiming at getting these assets in stable hands, you're never going to have success. No one's looking out for the taxpayer here. You know, when Gordian Group advises a board of directors in a workout, we care mightily about shareholder value. Here, I'm here wearing my hat as looking out for the taxpayer. The taxpayer shouldn't be in the business of having the government purchase assets because the government won't get it right. The government's gotten it wrong at every step of the way. They've put TARP money into the banks, and the banks haven't done what the government wanted them to do.
Do you look back to the situation in the 80s with Continental Bank and suggest at least there's a little bit of a blueprint for how to do this? I realize this is much grander.
Well, actually, the Office of Thrift Supervision under Tim Ryan did a great job. You know, they came in, they seized the assets, they spruced them up, they moved them along to more stable hands. You know, we're not willing to seemingly take the pain in this country by saying we're going to nationalize or take over these things. We keep propping up failed enterprises, failed business models in the case of General Motors, and
look where we are.
Look where we are.
Not much progress. Market's down 46% off its highs. Not pretty. All right, Peter Kaufman. Let's open it up now quickly to round 4. Is establishing a bad bank for troubled assets the best use of taxpayer money?
We don't know. And maybe the last guest, I think he was great. Maybe he should be put in charge.
Yeah, he's very good.
Yeah, he was very good. He seemed to have his head squarely on his shoulders. I like that.
Yeah, I mean, look, Ashley, we'd love to get the